London, baby. Here we go.
Hi viewers, in this video we will dive into the movie Fast and Furious 6, We will discuss the movie story, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and characters. Additionally, we will cover the movie production detail and box office performance. Finally, we will share the review and personal reactions of the movie. So let's begin with the movie story. Fast and Furious 6, titled on screen as Furious 6 and F6, is a 2013 American action heist film directed by Justin Lin and written by Chris Morgan. A film was a sequel to the 2011 film Fast 5 and a sixth installment of The Fast and the Furious. Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, and Diane Jensen reprised their role in the film, and follows Dominic Toretto, Brian O'Connor, and the team are offered amnesty for their past crimes in exchange for apprehending a mercenary organization, one member of which is Toretto's presumed deceased lover and wife Letty Ortiz. After departing from the Our Street Racing theme of previous installments in Fast 5, development of Fast and Furious 6 continued this, featuring spy and adventure element in this hopes to increase the series audience. Departing from the film began in April 2011 with Diesel and Lin returning that Jane discussion arose filming alongside a potential 7th installment. These were abandoned once principal photography began in July 2012, which lasted until that December, with filming locations including Los Angeles, London, Glasgow, and the Canary Islands. The film was premiered on London in May 7, 2013 and on United States in theatrical on May 24, 2013. Fast and Furious 6 receives positive reviews who praises Diesel performances and action sequences, with box office success grossing $788.7 million against the budget is $160 million, which was a sixth highest gross film of 2013. Fast and Furious 6 was a final film, was also a actor memory named Paul Walker who was died in 2013, dedicated as an idea entertaining. Furious 7 released in April 2015 in United States. So let's begin with the movie story. Following their successful heist in Brazil, Dominic "Dom" Toretto and his professional criminal Drew has fled around the world and are living peacefully. Dom lives with Eleanor Knobs, his sister Mia lives with Brian O'Connor, and their son. Jack Gazil Yashar and Hen Liu are together, and Roman Pierce and Tej Parker live in luxury. Meanwhile, DSS agents Luke Hobbs and Riley Hicks investigate the destruction of a Russian military convoy by a crew led by the former British SS Major and Special Ops soldier Owen Shaw. Hobbs persuades Dom to help capture Shaw by showing him a photo of his supposedly murdered wife, Letty Ortiz. Dom and his crew accept the mission in exchange for their amnesty and allowing them to return to the United States. In London, Shaw's hideout is found, but this is revealed to be a trap, distracting them and the police while Shaw's crew performed a heist at an Interpol building. Shaw flees by a custom car, detonating his hideout and disabling most of the police, leaving Dom, Brian, Tej, Roman, Han, Gasly, Hobbs, and Riley to pursue him. Letty arrives to help Shaw, showing Dom without hesitation before escaping. Back at their headquarters, Hobbs tells Dom's crew that Shaw is stealing components to create a deadly device that can shut down all power, intending to sell it to the highest bidder. Meanwhile, Shaw's investigation into the opposing crew reveals Letty's relationship with Dom, but she is revealed to be suffering from amnesia. Dominic's crew learned that Shaw is connected to a drug lord who was imprisoned by Brian Arthur Baraga. While Tej purchases several cars from an auction for the mission, Brian returned to Los Angeles as a prison to question Braga, who says Letty survived the explosion that seemingly killed her. Shaw looks her in after discovering her amnesia. With FBI's help, Brian is released from prison, regrouping with the team in London. Dom challenges Letty in a street racing competition. Afterward, he returns a cross necklace he had kept. After Letty leaves, Shaw offers Dom a chance to walk away, threatening to otherwise hurt his family, but Dom refuses. Tage track Shaw's next attack to a Spanish NATO base. Shaw's crew assault a highway military convoy carrying a computer chip to complete this device. Dom's crew interferes while Shaw, accompanied by Letty, commanders a tank, destroying cars en route. Brian and Roman flick the tank before it causes further damage, resulting in Letty being thrown from the vehicle. Thor Dom saves her. Shaw and his crew are captured, but reveal Mia has been kidnapped by Shaw's henchmen, Wig and Klaus. Hobbs is forced to release Shaw, and Riley, revealed to be Shaw's convert accomplice, leaves with him. Letty chooses to remain with Dom. Shaw's group board a moving Antronf and 124 on an exceptional long runway as Dom's crew gives chase. Dom, Letty and Brian board the craft. Brian rescues Mia and escapes. The plane attempts to take off but is held down by the excess weight as the rest of the team tether the plane to their vehicle. Diesel sacrifices himself to save Han from Shaw's henchman, Adolf's son. Letty kills Riley and escapes with Hobbs to safety, but Dom pursues Shaw and the computer chip. As the plane crashes into the ground, Shaw is thrown from it and Dom drives a charger out of the exploding plane. Dom reunites with the crew and gives the chip to Hobbs to scare their brethren. Dom and the others return to his old family home in Los Angeles, where Dom and his crew have a gathering to share a meal. Hobbs and Elena arrive to confirm the crew's freedom. Elena accepts that Dom leaves Letty. In a mid-credit scene, Han is involved in a car chase when he is suddenly broadsided by an oncoming car. The driver walks away after leaving Letty's cross necklace by the crash and calls Dom saying, "Dominic Toretto, you don't know me, but you are about to," as Han's car explodes, apparently killing Han. Main cast: Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor, Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, Terry C. Gibson as Roman Parsi, Ludacris as Tage Parker, Jordana Brewster as Mia Toretto, Michael Rockridge as Letty Ortiz, Song Kang as Han Seol, Gal Gadot as Gasly Yashar, Luke Evans as Owen Shaw, Davin Jensen as Luke Hobbs, Gina Carano as Riley Hicks, John Ortiz as Roto Brada, Shia Begum as Tuskik, Elsa Pataki as Alina Neves, David Ajala as Lobori, Kim Kate as Claude, Joy Talisam as Ja. Development. In February 2010, Diesel confirmed that production of Fast 5 was commencing and also announced that a sixth installment was being planned. In January 2011, producer Neil H. Martis and Mir Invents and my mind will already know what the sixth movie is. We have already been talking about it when and I have had numerous conversations about what that might be, and we are starting to get serious about it right now. We just finished Fast 5 like 4 or 5 weeks ago and we just needed a break, and now we are gonna start confusing on that. In April 2011, it was confirmed that Chris Morgan had already begun work on a script for a potential sixth film at the behest of Universal Studios. It was also confirmed that Universal intended to transform the series from street racing action into a series of heist films with car chases in the vein of Italian Job 1969 and Finch Connection 1971, with Fast 5 as a transitional movie. Universal Chairman Adam Falkland said that the question putting Fast and 5 together for us was, can we take it out of being a pursuit car culture movie and into being a true action franchise in the spirit of those greatest heist films made 10 or 15 years ago. Fogleson said that the racing aspect had put a ceiling on the number of people willing to see films in the series, and that by turning it into a series where car driving ability is just one aspect of the film. He hoped to increase the series' audience on Jensen's character. Fagelson added Jensen also want to appear in and be integrated to the action in Fast 6. On June 24, 2011, Universal Pictures announced that the anticipated sequel was scheduled for release on May 24, 2013. Mortis and Diesel returned as producers and Lin returned to direct. In an interview with Box Office, Lin revealed that he had, after discussion with Diesel, storyboarded, pre-visualized and edited a 12-minute final of Fast 6 before filming was completed on Fast 5. Lin said he shot the footage as he was scared at the time if there would be a sequel or if he would be able to direct it, but he wanted to have put on how any sequel would add. Musclehead and Muscle Car Fantastic deserve their own Star Wars or Star Trek, I guess, and the Fast and the Furious movies seems to fit the bill. Just like those perennial sacrifice Greek out, this saga about superheroic street racers is essentially about friendship. All the fancy nomenclature and delicious spectacle are just to help render the essential stuff in ways that will not embrace a javelin audience. It works. I don't think my 10 years old self could have tolerated Han Solo and Princess Leia kissing at the end of The Return of the Jedi if not for the consolation of watching the Vietnam War reenacted by miniatum space bears. So it is with Fast and Furious 6, which is arguably the most sentiment of the Fast flicks. The regular cast members are all either approaching 40 or well into their 40s. When this series started 12 years ago, there were still hot young Hollywood superstars. Whoever was a teen or tween back then, finding in these photogenic bidas the epitome of cool, is now likely sweating over rent and taxes. Fast 6 wants to give them a little commencement present akin to Star Trek 6, which actually put a lump in my throat when it ended by having the TV icon of my youth sign their names across the stars. Yes, Fast 6 is still cool-blooded and brutal enough for the children. A kind of name in the stars beyond helps in the opening credit. A multitude of moments from all over the series. We glimpse Paul Walker and Vin Diesel in the early days, slightly slimmer, swifter and lighter of voice. We see various beatdowns, jungling bikinis and vehicular mascaras set to the thumb of generic hip-hop track. Justin Lin is a playfully bombastic director, but this voice as sensibility goes missing in one of the key areas where he could leverage this trash into trash art, the soundtrack. I turned on the title music and imagined Ray Charles and Nora Jones softly groaning, "Here we go again," over the running, squalling, ass-slipping and killing. This time around, the members of the street racing, carjacking gang turned a team came out of retirement to help an international counter-terrorism manhunt. There are millionaires living in far-flung tropical hideout now, so what could convince them to help the feds? One of their homies thought long teeth has been photo-fit among the suspects. Letty is alive. Apparently she was Vin Diesel's girlfriend in Fast 1 and 4. In the latter, she was presumed killed by a drug lord's henchman. When Letty finally showed up alive on screen, there were gaps and murmurs among my fellow moviegoers. Now that's what I'm thinking about. A long-running franchise like this one is about the familiarity and comfort of friendship. It's about disappearances, intervals of grief and longing, entrance, exit, and grand reunion. If anybody loves this ridiculous cycle of crime operas, it's because of that they love Vin Diesel memorable mouthed charisma and Paul Walker earnest aqua blue eyes, framed in the film's most spectacular shot between fire engine red prison bars. They love the horrible return car, charmingly performed banter between sideman Chris Ludacris Bridge and Tennessee Gibson. They love the shy, sweet courtship between Han and Gasly. They love the way these show-offs talk shit with each other and initiate relative newcomers like Dan Jensen, Aka the Rock, and first timer Gina Carano Howry into their shit-talking fold. They love these distracted human things, and it's the filmmaker's job to withhold them at times to force viewers to face the possibility that they might never enjoy them again and bring them back from the narrative dead with an invigorating flourish. Vittoris De Sica would have aced one of these flicks. Every action director should study the way a father almost loses a son in the De Sica, the bicycle thief, and an old man almost loses a dog in this Oberto D. Heart-stopping and then heartbreaking. A racing Hollywood example is the tearful meeting of donut-eating Flatfoot Al Powell and veteran New York cop John McClane at the end of Die Hard. After they are bonded all night over police radio, Louis Besson Sasek, Lee fame Nikita, and the professional bet everything on giant matching close-ups late in the game of two people distractedly in love facing each other for what could be the last time. Violence is boring. The great action movies are about life and the scramble to preserve it, no matter how or who or what threatens to take it away. In this case, the Who is Mustache Travinkle played by Will's man Luke Evans, looking the evilish part of Jude Law and Leonardo DiCaprio mashed up. Modern action movies focus so much on the scramble pornographically so that they forget the life part. The real trick is to fuse the life and the scramble in each moment. In the journal Keaton's every beautifully human move to save himself tell us exactly why he is worth saving. Secretly state-of-the-art, Fast 6 is not a great action movie. It has all the ingredients, including a cast that fluents infectious group chemistry, but its delivery is so businesslike and its action sequence so preoccupied with numbering shock and taxes. Despite Keaton, Jackie Chan leaves of absurd invention that we forget to care. Until Fast 6, I never mentioned a tank speeding the wrong way down a highway could give me that Banderline feeling. The second most thrilling scene in the film is a Rock Diesel tag team wrestling move that drew intentional laughter and applause from the audience. But it's trumped by a more sedate moment, a family barca that brings the principal cast together for a corny prayer. It looks like these former street punks are growing up into a real family, not the conditional teacher's kind that a street gang provides. Right on the scene seal comes a cliffhanger burst of violence, surely conceived to please the kids. The once movie executive cannot imagine sitting still for anything less than murder. Fast 6 is solid entertainment, but it might have been great if it recognized that a human touch is a rare thing, and when you have it, there's no need to keep clenching it into a fist. This should come as a surprise to anyone, but why does every time I see one of these movies I wanna drive as fast car so bad? Probably because I don't have that much money to own a lavish vehicle, and you are always wanting to drive at a normal speed while on the road. Sure, Fast and Furious 6 implores you to do not these stunts on your own, but it's just a cool thought. So what's the story of the movie? Following their successful heist in Rio, Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel, Brian O'Connor, played by Paul Walker, and the rest of the team are living their lives in freedom around the world, especially for Brian and Mia Jordana Brewster, as they have welcomed a son. But when a team of mercenary drivers led by Owen Shaw, played by Luke Evans, and Dom's presumed dead girlfriend Letty Ortiz, played by Mitchell Rodriguez, as one of his members is caught stealing weapon parts that are worth billions, Agent Luke Hobbs, Dan Jensen, tracks down Dom to get his team together once again to bring Shaw down in exchange for full pardons for all of them. Back in 2013, I could not believe we were up to 6 movies in the Fast and the Furious series. Crazy, right? After the last installment, Fast 5, came out, nobody expected it to be the most entertaining sequel since it ditched the entire street racing aspect and focused on the action with these established characters we have grown to care about. And something was stealing me that I was going to have a good time watching this since it was the Friday afternoon opening day after passing my final English and needed to celebrate with the manly testosterone it wants to prove. Not only that, but this was the third sequel. We are already getting a strong start of the summer movie season following Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness, knowing exactly what is without catering to these who expected Shakespeare quality. Fast and Furious 6 just know how to please its viewers. It's another movie where director Justin Lin and screenwriter Chris Morgan change it up, this time where it's going to be more of an adventure for the team, where the stakes are even higher to top what they have brought there. With a plot about finding the bad guy to find a computer chip or something, let's be honest and say it's not the most interesting thing in the world to pay attention to. A whole new level that never thought they would be doing, what it's not at that they might be a pair, but when it's the bring someone home, there's no going back. Not everyone go into these movies accepting to get a profound plot. It also plays on the trope on how the person hunting after our heroes needs to work together that we have seen times before, where it's now about trust. Now they are going up against a crew more serious than they are like before. Lin still does an excellent job at directing, where he knows how to capture them with cool stunts and all while still contributing and caring for the characters and story too. I know the acting is not particularly the fast insect when going into these films, but not that bad as many claim to be. Mostly the same actor from previously, and everybody has great chemistry with each other, making it believable that they are family more than a team. The progression of the friendship between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker is getting better, and each passing film with that ride or die mentality, which makes their performance serviceable without judging too harshly. It was also great seeing Michelle Rodriguez back again as Letty, since she didn't do much in the first and fourth movies, but she gets more screen time and explains her reasoning on how she is alive, even if she doesn't remember who Dom is. And what cannot I say about Dan Jensen? He saved the last movie with his inclusion as Hobbs, and he kills it again when we see more of him. You already know what you are going to get from Jordana Brewster Mia, Terry C. Gibson Roman, Ludacris Stage, Sung Kang Han, and Gilded Gasly when getting more into the action this time around. Luke Ivan as the film's villain, Owen Shaw, was not that bad either, since he managed to be more interesting than the Gimpim in the fifth movie, since he knows that he can beat Dom and his team while the code embroiled by them that makes them predictable. But if you thought the action in Fast 5 was cool, it was Lin's mission to make it bigger and better. And Fast and Furious 6 knows when up the enter and need to accomplish the primary goal. All you need to know is you are going to get your car chases and fast fight, and they will more likely get you pumped. The way they filmed the car chases and the other action scenes with practical effect once again was incredible and over the top. Every set piece was just too awesome just to figure out how they did that, and just it's totally reckless to the point of suspending disbelief, but it's the sixth movie, what can you accept? There's a section involving a freaking tank on the highway that destroying every car inside, which is followed up with an accelerating climax taking place on a long runway inside and outside the plane before it takes off. Right there was exciting to watch throughout, but all I keep thinking about upon rewatches, and everyone has the same thought, is wondering how ridiculously long the runway strip is because the sequence runs about 10 minutes long. When it has problem is that the pricing is the middle tends to drag down where there's a time to breathe everything in. The humor surprisingly worked because some scene had me laughing occasionally, especially from Tennessee Gibson and Ludacris, but I can see where some of the jokes would not land with most people. The action sequence to something makes you think who to where you don't want your brain to go all physics professor on how everything was planned out, knowing full well what would not happen in real life. To be fair, they showed the biggest scene in the trailer, which was a bummer. But this movie knows that it there for fun and not to be taken seriously. They already had planned for Furious 7 before this came out, and it got me excited, especially during its mid-credit scene. I was not expecting to find a twist in the timeline, which one of the previous films and made for my favorite mid-credit moment of the year. This sixth installment probably doesn't get much attention as opposed to the other recent addition over the past few years, but this is clearly one of the better Fast and the Furious movies that easily is on the top 5 when discussing the franchise as a whole. Final thought: Fast and Furious 6 high octane action and its continuation of turning the franchise around make for a fun summer popcorn sequel, as great as its predecessors. Not quite, since it's not the most exhilarating plot around or the kind of dialogue that's entirely smart, but the absurd ride there is still entertaining follow-up to please fans all around. I have tried on few occasions to watch the earlier film in the Fast and Furious franchise, but I could never get into it. The whole underground street racing scene has never appealed to me, and the barrage of skill-colored cars and picnic-clad women garroting in slow motion got old quick. Now clearly the series has an urgent following as evidenced by the 4 total movies that fit this description. I just could not count myself among them. But in 2011 the series took a sharp turn in the right direction with the release of Fast 5 Gone, where the street car racing rides and greasy skin shots, with the exception of one obligatory homage of shots. Instead, director Justin Lin and writer Chris Morgan made the film into a full-blown old-school action picture, only the vehicle as the main weapon of choice. It was a great movie and I had a ton of fun with it. So that brings us to Fast and Furious 6. Yes, there have actually been 6 of these films. Lin and Morgan turns as does franchise Sylvester Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. After making this franchise debut last time, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson return, as do many other faces that franchise faithful are sure to recognize. The good news is Fast and Furious 6 sticks to the same formula as the last picture. It's loud, prosperous, and seemingly custom made for the summer popcorn season. I don't think it's just as good as Fast 5, but it's still a fuel injected good time. Once again, an international location is chosen and our cast is thrown in it. Last time it was Rio, this time it's London, England. Dom Toretto and Brian O'Connor are still wanted men. They are both settled down in the Canary Island with hopes of putting their former lives behind them. But that quickly changes when DSS agent Luke Hobbs appears at Dom's doorstep with news that an old criminal named Owen Shaw, powerful ex-military man, is making criminal activities. Dom is pursued to get his team back together and help Hobbs to stop Shaw and find out about his mysterious person from his past. There are several things about this film that are given Diesel grind up his handful, of lines in his familiar deep and cavalry voice. The Rock is given as endless supply of homie tough guy, wildliner and corny testorian-lized analogies, and Paul Walker still has the sheepish and boyish vibe going. The rest of Tom's crew are not asked to do any heavy lifting, and that's a good thing. Neither Song Kong or Chris Ludacris Bridges are particularly good actors, and Tennessee Gibson comic act grew old quick. But none of these performances are why people will go to see this film. But I too want to talk about the two newcomers to the Fast and Furious world. I have just recently not the same, but I quite like Luke Evans. He gives a rock solid performance there as the main body. While his character is really nothing more than a thief, and this overall motivation are shallow. Evans brings a pretty menacing quality to the role, and then there's Gina Kranko. Can I just go ahead and say I love Gina Kranko? Once again, she is tough as nails and she holds her own among the mojo types, just like Steven in the movie Highwire. Dr. Justin Lin keeps with her within her comfort zone and never scratches her beyond her bones. She is one of the high paints of me and she gets her scene to shine. But enough about the racing. Fast and Furious 6 is a straightforward action picture built upon some ludicrous yet spectacular set piece and more flipping, jumping and crashing of cars than you can count. The movie aims to be even more outlandish than the previous film and it succeeds, but it still keeps you glued to the screen as the vehicular meme amp up with each big sequence. Sure, it's sometimes dumb and always over the top. Some of the dialogue is high and cheese at its finest and the joke often fall flat, but it still delivers the battle to the metal ride or die and the line rush that has made it such a guilty player. I still say that this film is not as fluid or polished, if you can call any of these movies polished, as Fast 5, but I appreciate that the movie never pretends to be anything other than what it is. The filmmaker know the type of the movie they are making and there is no pretension or artifice at all. That's the key of the audience as well. If you know what kind of the movie is this, you will know what to expect. Don't think you are getting a film with deeper, thought-provoking theme and top-tier performances. Understand that this film and this series is all about the wild ride, and if you are willing to get into the car, you are going to have a good time. Fast 5 attempted and quite successfully, I might add, a reboot of short for the entire Fast and Furious franchise, turning a series of movies about car racing into an exciting heist film. It was big and brash and sweetie and a complete success. So where do you go from there? Fast and Furious 6 attempts to answer that question by adding an air suffix to all those adjective above: bigger, pressure, sweeter. Fast and Furious 6 is like Fast 5 and notorious director Justin Lin. It's the proverbial turbo boost to go bigger, faster, stronger, and at a time that is a great thing. But when the NOC runs out, the drag race just turns into a drag. After the events of Fast 5, Dom Toretto, played by Vin Diesel, is relaxing a breezy oceanside property that would not look out of the place on the cover of Travel Plus layer. He sixes up his new girlfriend Elsa Pataki with considerably less to do in the film that is Fast 5 and monkeys around with a nasty old car engine on his Porsche. He may be a little young for AARP but retired seems to suit Toretto well. This is until Hobbs, Dine, The Rock Johnson shows up looking for help. And why would I help you? Hobbs Toretto, because he's got proof that your dead girlfriend Letty, a squalling Michael rock race, is not all that dead. In fact, she's alive and working with the bad guys. And what the Fast and Furious 6 reaves its engine slams on the gas, and our team is resembled just even by O'Connor, who leaves his newborn baby boy and wife home while he goes to fight dangerous international criminal in the name of discovering whether his buddy's ex-girlfriend may or may not still be alive. They are chasing down Owen Shaw, Luke Evans, a Brit who is about to get his hands on some super weapon things, and it's really dangerous and McAfee, and we have got to stop him, and so on and so forth. The less thought you put into the motivations behind Sean's plan, the better things go crash, know that. But before we can do that, we have setup and then some more setup of particular delight to Lin and writer Chris Morgan in the relationship between Dom and Letty, who was left for dead at the end of Fast and Furious. She got amnesia, she still loves her, but what about his new girlfriend? Why is she partnering with the bad guys? If this all sounds like an episode of The Fast and the Furious, the rattleness, that's because that's exactly what I feels like. Pardon us if we want our Vin Diesel punching things and cranking out these lines, not meeting counting with a girl under a bridge. When the camera whoops repeatedly around Dom and Letty as they share an intimate moment, it's supposed to come off as a tender moment, but the scene goes on endlessly and pointlessly. And Stan's face is just goofy, and when a scene stands out as a goofy in a Fast and Furious movie, you know something amiss. Where Fast 5 requires almost tend to no knowledge of previous Fast and Furious mythology, Fast and Furious 6 seems almost revel in it. There are a multitude of callbacks to the previous films, including returning character, hey it's that guy, and continuing plotting, and are nothing more than fan service. Sadly, the only service provides is to make audience feel confused, indifferent, or both. But here's the good thing, though the movie as a whole cannot quite stand up to the majesty that was Fast 5, an almost perfect mix of the ridiculous and the sublime. The action sequence in Fast and Furious 6 are both bigger and better than anything we have seen in the franchise to date. Watching Diesel launch himself into a flying head but like a big bad missile is just one of the many joys of the last act of the film. A breathless 20-minute brawl chase aboard a massive cargo plane, another standout, a brutal gunfight between Rogers and former MMA superstar Gina Carano, a delightful addition as Johnson's right-hand woman. While romance and drama had never been the strong suit of the Fast film, over-the-top action is, and Fast and Furious 6 absolutely deliver on the promise. It's almost impossible not to giggle and hoot along in glee during some of the film's spectacular action sequence. Just look at the photo above. It's a farmer-made model Terrace flying from a car about to be crashed by a tank of the race car speeding down a subway. He makes it's a good at doing what it does best, but that is takes the rest of the film seems stuck in neutral. While Diesel and Walker are technically the star of the film, Mr. The Rock once again proves that he is one of the most charismatic actors working in Hollywood. He is hulking mass of cool wrapped in Under Armour. If he was not returning for Fast and Furious 7, it could easily be believed that this film is setting Hobbs up to be the rightful heir to the franchise. Evans is not given much to do with this genetic British bad guy character, but Abel Macret, our crew. Part of the endless enjoyability of Fast 5 was it never took itself too seriously. Perhaps owing to the success of the film, Fast and Furious 6 starts taking itself a little too seriously, and almost startling accomplishment considering the aforementioned use of Vin Diesel's head as a projectile weapon. When it's good, Fast and Furious 6 is great, but when it's not, it just runs out of gas. As a fully loaded action movie, there's nothing terrible special about Fast and Furious 6. It's well made and delivered on all fours, but it does not exactly stand out among others of its kind, and I don't just mean the other F&F movies but any loud, testosterone-driven action flick with stuff-up stunts, extended chase sequence, and the whooping of fist fight. But then, why should I expect it to be drastically different? Movies like this are made for audiences who know exactly what they want and who will keep paying to see them so long as the studio keeps making them. On the other hand, when you consider Fast and Furious 6 in the sixth installment is an unsinkable franchise, is short of remarkable, it's still able to be this good. And by good, I don't mean it pushes any cinematic boundaries, but rather than it's a fun and entertaining. There's something to be said for a movie that keeps a 12 years old popcorn series going strong. I will not go to the trouble of catching you up to speed on the entire FNF saga. The opening take care of that is a matter of minute. Odds are if you are watching this review, you already know what it's about and how it's radically and authentically deserves character are connected. All you need is know is the gang is all here. Dom, Brian, Mia, Roman, Tage, Han, and Gasly, otherwise known as the team. This group of fearless individuals has evolved from mere street racers into professional stunt people, not to mention high specialized computer and auto engineers. Nothing seems to shock or scare them, and nothing seems too high tech, dangerous, or insurmountable. That's probably why Agent Hobbs, Dwayne Johnson of the Diplomatic Security Service, recruited them to thwart an international criminal named Owen Shaw, played by Luke Evans, an ex-British soldier who is planning on stealing a $1 billion computer chip that would allow its owner to disable an entire military grid. Of course, the chip only served as the movie's Mofkin. We all know it's exactly about the action. Shaw and his team have already taken out a Russian convoy, and his work tells Hobbs and his new partner Riley that Dom and his team are the best men and women to take them down. Normally, Dom and his crew, themselves criminals, would dismiss the idea of helping out of the authorities, but Hobbs revealed that Dom's old flame Letty, who was spotly killed in Fast and Furious 2009, is alive and well and a member of the Shaw's team. This is the point where things get personal, and suddenly everybody is on board, although they still demand a full pardon of their past transgression. As for Letty, she is apparently a mistake and doesn't remember who she is, let alone her relationship with Dom, but she can still drive and kick butt with the best of them. And so the movie goes through its standard motions: a fight there, an explosion and chase scenes there, and solidifies the Fast and Furious franchise as a member of the action-adventure highest genre instead of the lower street racing one. It's a shot of the Mission Impossible or Ocean 11 on steroid, and just like those movies, Fast and Furious 6 is light on story and character development but heavy on stupendous action sequence. There are three really big ones that take up quite a bit of screen time, especially the climax, but they are undeniably pulse-pounding and surprisingly coherent. If it take too long, how much of a role director Justin Lin played in their execution versus his second unit team, who is to say, but whatever the case, the movie lives up to its promise of being an explosive extravaganza. Another plus is that however it addresses the underlying material, maybe the filmmaker managed to take it seriously as far as entertainment goes. Meaning they don't sweep on the goods on budget, the action scenes are not half-baked or so implausible they lose credibility within the movie's own word. They are intense, energetic and exciting with big visual and oral payoffs. With this in mind, even though I continue to like the FNF movies, I am cautious about future installment. Fast and Furious 7 is already slated for a July 24 release because it means each sequel will presumably get less and less fresh. Granted, the series could take on the qualities of James Bond and potentially go on forever and ever, but even if its quality was to remain high and its profit large, would we really want it to go that route? For the sake of it ending on a high note and keeping goodwill with its audience, and it is the interest of variety and moving on, I think the team should retire before it's too late or before we get bored. How about instead of giving fans what they already know they want, the filmmaker brainstorm and give the audience that they don't want to know? At least not yet. Perhaps that could be the start of a new franchise that actually stand out amongst its brethren. With Fast and Furious 6, this long-running franchise has become a fully fledged superhero series, complete with memorable larger-than-life characters, a rich mythology, and huge action sequences that are surprisingly more about character than they are about sheer thrills. This film is not without its flaws, but it also deserves to be commended as a streamlining of the idea that the previous films has dealt with. It's also an exhilarating watch, and I'd recommend it if you are looking for something really riveting that is full of outrageous spectacle. The end of the previous film teased the story of Fast and Furious 6. Really post-credit scenes are about, and definite evidence is possible that Fast and Furious is now looking to superhero for inspiration, with the revelation that Letty is not as dead as it assumes in the fourth installment. With hindsight, the films before the fifth one can be seen as clearly building to its big team up, and now that this one is about retrieving a lost member of the group. While this film is also about taking down criminal mastermind Owen Shaw, it is more concerned with putting a makeshift family back together and getting Letty back when she belongs. I think viewers may be surprised just how well the theme of family is presented here. It's sadly the best screenplay or acting that you will find, but it definitely does the job at least as well as many of the comic book movies that I am certain I am influenced by. The circumstance in which the members of the team are brought back together or assembled, if you will, is a great deal of fun, and the actors performed well and provided scenes with humor and charisma. Vin Diesel's Dominic Toretto is the real center of all of these stories. It's no surprise that Tokyo Drift, lacking Diesel and any narrative importance, is the weakest of the franchise, and he is at his best here, emphasizing the importance of family and loyalty while generally being the type of kick-ass hero and that is easy to root for. Dwayne Johnson's character Luke Hobbs gets an even more important role in Fast and Furious 6 than he did with his introduction in the last movie. To continue to stretch the superhero stuff, he is referred to as both Captain America and Small Thor in the film. He visually represents institution and organization that would seek to exploit the ability of the central team, but he is more of a renegade as he has become convinced of some of the ideas that Dom and his friends value. Where I think the film stumbles tough is with its villain. The character of Shaw is poorly defined on some level. I like the idea of a few that is always two steps ahead, but taken to a bit of ridiculous extent here. I also have a hard time reconciling the notion of a man professing precision to be his key trait and then proceeding to run over innocent driver with a tank that should not be considered a spoiler. It's in all the trailer. On a related note, I must say that I am glad that the mindless falson in those scenes doesn't go acknowledgeable, as the team struggle to protect villains and destruction, and Letty reacts in a fitting way as she sees Shaw seems to lose it. Anyway, he is a difficult character to grasp, and I think he causes the film a couple of problems. It also perhaps a little too long, although I cannot say it's all that boring. I think the script probably just needed a little tightening up in a certain areas. It would make a little more of a cohesive film. There are real shocks and surprise here, and the mid-credit scene on this one is just brilliantly silly and cool. It set up a lot for the next film while managing to pull off the unaccepted feat of giving Tokyo Drift something of a reason to exist. Fast and Furious 6 is also very well paced. It moves out a breakneck speed and only ever passes for brief moments that allow the character to emphasize that motivates them. Along with the expected automotive stunt, this is also a film full of great hand-to-hand combat. Gina Carano, Joy Taslim, Rodriguez, Jensen and Diesel all get moments to shine as they go up against one another in excellently choreographed fight. I really appreciate just how well this team represent the kind of people you don't usually get to be the focus of the big action movie. It's a better than usually film for female characters, and they are all well-rounded figure, and I am certain it passes the Bechdel test. I may be wrong, but I hope I am not. The coolest fights are between Carano and Rodriguez, and they are not watered down and secondary to the male character punching each other. This is a martial art at its best. It has other problems with gender like grossious, certainly lead dancer at street races, but the main characters are strongly written. Also, this franchise has a great reflection of a range of different races. I mean, who would not guess that its best Roman body dynamic is between Roman and Han? It's an arguably more accurate representation of America than other films provide, and I think these movies are showing Hollywood the way to go. The big stunt set pieces are as impressive as could be hoped for. It's not more so, it's a shame that a number of them have been more than glimpsed in the trailer, but I think there are few moments that are really truly breathtaking. More importantly, I think this movie has a good understanding of who its characters are and how they relate to one another. It doesn't do it for all the characters, but the center player are well-defined people that we can relate to. Fast and Furious 6 understands its place in the series and builds its character up as heroes that represent the bones of family. It's strangely resonant. Yes, I did just call a Fast and Furious film resonant and very entertaining. Justin Lin's past three Fast films connect very well and tell a more complete story that I had accepted them to. Things look good for the next one too, and I am honestly really looking forward to where it goes and how quickly it gets there. Why Diesel was killed off in Fast and Furious 6. Despite an enthralling performance by Gal Gadot and a promising future for the character, Giselle Gishard sacrificed herself in Fast and Furious 6, which begs the question, why did Gal Gadot leave Fast and Furious? Giselle Gadot is a drug smuggler with expert driving skill and elite marksmanship who is introduced in Fast and Furious. Her job as a courier for drug smuggler Arthur Braga John Ortiz comes to a halt when Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel saves her amidst the ambush, and as a sign of gratitude she revealed to him the location of Braga's hideout, and they go their separate ways. In Fast 5, the most important movie in the Fast and Furious franchise, Toretto recruits her. Giselle develops a romantic relationship with Han Liu and proves herself a great asset to the main team. Gadot's strong performance in Fast 5 is why her death scene came as a surprise. Giselle let herself fall off the plane in the infamous runaway scene in the Fast and Furious 6 to save Han from being shot by one of Owen Shaw's henchmen. The shock only worsened after Shaw's brother Deckard crashed Han's car and left him for dead in the mid-credit scene, rendering her sacrifice worthless. Why Diesel was killed off in the Fast and Furious franchise? Diesel's death likely would not have happened if she was as popular in 2013 as she is today. Gal Gadot was not the superstar she currently is when she portrayed the character and was killed off. In fact, it was her portrayal of Diesel in Fast 5 that made Gal Gadot a star. Her powerful performance and her background in the Israel Defense Force helped her develop her character into a main member of the cast, but it was not enough to grant her a permanent slot in the ever-growing team. Gadot's portrayal of Diesel exceeds the expectation the franchise had for the character, as she was only said to be a minor figure in the overall story. The Fast and Furious 6 had to demonstrate that the heroes are not invincible through the death of a character that was not part of the core cast, like Dom or Brian O'Connor. The late Paul Walker and Diesel had the proper balance of boldness and relevance to represent a heroic sacrifice without affecting the development of future sequel at the moment. The bright side of Diesel and Han's memorability in the franchise is that there's always a way to bring them back from the dead. Diesel's sacrifice in Fast and Furious 6 is the ultimate test of the bravery and serves to prove that despite all over-the-top action sequence and leap of logic in the films, there's always a sense of danger to the team of underlying Christ heroes. However, it was different to let Gal Gadot go in 2013 than it would be now. After her outstanding role as Wonder Woman in the DCEU and her phenomenal rise in popularity, her current star power and bank ability would likely discourage studio from killing off her character in a franchise, and instead would probably even consider moving her up a lead. Diesel returned to the Fast and Furious in Fast X. Just like Han before her, Diesel has returned to Fast and Furious despite being killed off. In the last scene in Fast X, Letty and Cypher visit an unknown Arctic location where a submarine arises after the water, and Diesel emerges from it. Director Lewis later explained that he doesn't see the franchise future without her. Nothing. I was lucky enough to track one commercial with her and I saw the power of Gal Gadot for 30 seconds. So now that I get to not only work with her but also bring back Diesel into the franchise, I am the happiest fan in the world. Gadot also mentioned how excited she is to be reunited with the franchise in an Instagram post. The actor wrote, "To my fans, your continued love and support fuel this journey. Here's to honoring the legacy, the fans and the Fast family and we have built together via Digital Spy." Nothing is known about why Diesel has been in hiding, why she has been hiding in a submarine, or how she survived the fall from the airplane in Fast and Furious 6, but it confirms her return to the franchise and that Diesel will have a much bigger role in Fast and Furious 11. Widely, Fast and Furious 6 changed the franchise in 5 major ways. While it is something overlooked because of the series' alternating movies surrounding it, Fast and Furious 6 was highly important to the course of the Fast franchise. Many of the plot elements and twists introduced in Fast and Furious 6 would come to define the larger-than-life tone of the latter movies in the series, as well as how it would handle its multiple stars. There are at least 5 major changes made in Fast and Furious 6 that would have a significant influence on the shape of the series to come. Released in 2013, Fast and Furious 6 was the 4th film in the franchise to be directed by Justin Lin. The plot of the movie saw Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, team of car thieves, recruited to take down a mercenary organization led by Owen Shaw. It continued the Fast and Furious franchise transitions away from street-level crime stories to larger-than-life action movies. Fast and Furious 6 was the highest grossing film in the franchise when it was released, setting the stage for even bigger success of Furious 7. Fast 5 largely reinvented the franchise as a globe-spanning action movie, and Furious 7 was both an emotional spin-off to Paul Walker and one of the more financially successful movie ever. Because of this, Fast and Furious 6 is sometimes the forgotten middle child of the more modern Fast movies. However, Fast and Furious 6 introduced several important changes that would have both positive and negative ramifications, still felt by the series many years later. Fast and Furious 6 proved dead character could return. One of the most significant developments in Fast and Furious 6 is the decision to bring back Dom's love interest Letty Ortiz, who had been presented as killed off in the Fast and Furious, the fourth movie in the franchise. Fast and Furious 6 retconned the previous movie so that Letty instead lost her memory and became one of Owen Shaw's gang members. It was the first time that the Fast and Furious movies would bring back a seemingly deceased character, but it would not be the last, with Han later resurrected in F9. The plot twist, right out for a soap opera or comic book, helped contribute to the feeling that the Fast movies took place in heightened reality where anything could happen. Michelle Rodriguez was also a great presence to have back in the franchise as a necessary counterbalance to the hyper masculine persona of Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. However, Letty's restriction and the series' continuous use of Fast and Furious tecton to bring back that character eventually contributed to a sense that there were no real stakes in these movies. The Fast and Furious 6 set up justice for Han. Fast and Furious 6 also made a major change to the franchise by seeming to conclude the story of Han, the fan favorite character introduced in the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift after previously starring in Justin Lin's debuted feature Better Luck Tomorrow. Han actually died in Tokyo Drift, but Lin wanted to bring back the character, so the following three movies were actually set before the third one. However, this created a somewhat confusing chronology. Fast and Furious 6 helped the series finally move forward in its own timeline by concluding with Han making his fateful trip to Tokyo. The mid-credit scene in Fast and Furious 6 also recontextualized Han's death, showing that he had in fact been killed by Dominic Shaw, looking for a revenge for his brother. This revealed character cliffhanger leading into Furious 7, but also lead to issue down the line. Fast and Furious 6 ending and mid-credit scene explained. Following the critical and financial success of the previous entry, Fast and Furious 6 had a lot to live up to, and it mostly succeeded, especially in the ending and mid-credit scenes, which not only satisfying wrapped up the film's conflicts but also perfectly set up the events for the 7th Fast and Furious movie. Directed by Justin Lin, Fast and Furious 6 take place 2 years after Dominic "Dom" Toretto and his crew successfully pulled off the bank heist in Brazil in Fast 5. The crew have gone their separate ways and everyone seems to be doing well. However, Dom and his team are forced back into the game when Luke Hobbs informs Dom that a rogue British agent named Owen Shaw plans on making a device called Nightshade, which has the power to shoot all of in a country. Hobbs asks Dom for help in exchange for a pardon for himself and his crew, which he accepts. However, the mission turns personal as Dom discovers that his late wife Letty Ortiz is still alive and working for Shaw. Everything comes together for a thrilling ending worthy of the Fast and Furious franchise. The main cast of the movie is Dominic "Dom" Toretto as Vin Diesel, Brian O'Connor as Paul Walker, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Luke Hobbs, Letty Ortiz as Mitchell Rockercase, Mia Toretto as Jordana Brewster, Roman Piercy, Terry C. Gibson, Tej Parker, Chris Ludacris Bridge, Han Sol U Song Kang, Jesse J. Shar, Gil Dot, Elena Neves, Ilsa Pataki, Owen Shaw, Luke Hobbs, our villain, Riley Hicks, Gina Carnaro. Dominic Toretto defeats Owen and retrieves the computer chips. Owen and his team attack a military convoy as it contains a computer chip that he needs to finish constructing Nightshade, while Dom and his crew are unsuccessful in stopping Owen. They convince Letty to join their side and betray Shaw. With their hands on the computer chip, Shaw and his band of mercenaries board a moving plane to flee the country but are prevented from doing so after Dom and his crew catch up to them and use the weight of their cars to prevent the plane from taking off. Dom and Luke use the opportunity to board the plane, which leads to one of the best fight scenes in the Fast and Furious franchise, in which they team up to fight and defeat Owen and his henchman, Claus Kim Cold. After Dom and Luke successfully win their over-the-top fist fight, they take the computer chip, throw Owen out of the moving plane, which leaves him in critical condition, and then drive out of the plane before it crashes and explodes. Hobbs pardons Dom and his crew. After successfully preventing Owen Shaw from constructing the Nightshade device and accomplishing their mission, Dom and his crew return to Los Angeles, where they celebrate with a big barbecue party. Luke arrives at the party to tell Dom that he and his team have been pardoned and that the government will no longer be hunting them down. While this scene between Dom and Luke is awkwardly shot and blocked since it was affected by the real-life fight between Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson, it at least did the job of indicating that both two men now have developed mutual respect and set up their partnership in future movies. Letty and Dom get back together. Despite Letty still being unable to remember anything about her past or her relationship with Dom, she cannot deny the strong connection she feels with the man. Therefore, after completing the mission, Letty and Dom decide to get back together and give their relationship another chance. This makes Dom happy since even after she supposedly died, she never stopped loving her. Unfortunately, this leaves Dom in an uncomfortable position as he must break up with Elena Neves, Elsa Pataki, a former cop who was first introduced as a member of Hobbs' team from Fast 5 and later entered into a relationship with him after the bank heist in Brazil. Fortunately, Elena holds no crude or ill will against Dom as she understands that he loves Letty and that he should be with her. This not only makes Dom happy, but it also showcases that even though their relationship is over, they will always remain close to each other. Han decides to move to Tokyo. After Gasly Jeshar sacrificed herself at the end of Fast and Furious 6 to save Han from being killed by Adolfson, a member of Shaw's mercenary team, Han tells his crew members that he will be going to Tokyo. Han and Gasly has talked about wanting to go to Tokyo together before, but with Gasly now having supposedly dead, Han feels compelled more than ever to go and fulfill the promise he made to her. While Roman and Tej sports Han's decision, they remind him that no matter where he goes, they will always have him back. Dom and his crew say grace. A barbecue party with chicken and beer that cannot be consumed until someone says grace in a prominent tradition that has been featured in almost every Fast and Furious movie, starting with the very first film. However, what is particularly special about the barbecue dinner in Fast and Furious 6 is that not only is the last scene in the movie, but it also in a moment that is earned. After stopping Owen Shaw's evil plans and Letty having been reunited with the family, it also makes sense to end this action-packed thrill ride and friends kicking back and enjoying a meal of chicken and Corona. Deckard Shaw kills Han in the mid-scenes. In the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, Han was supposedly killed in a car accident, and that moment is played again during the mid-credit scene of Fast and Furious 6. However, it is revealed that Han's death was not an accident, but an assassination attempt orchestrated by a mysterious man who, after the crash, calls Tom and says, "You don't know me, but you are about to." Furious 7 revealed that this mysterious assassin is Deckard Shaw, the brother of Owen Shaw, who is out on a revenge quest to kill Dom and his crew after what they did to Owen. However, just like how Han's death was retconned in the mid-credits of Fast and Furious 6, it would be retconned again in F9 when it is revealed that Han was not actually killed by Deckard. Instead, with the help of Mr. Nobody, Han faked his death and then went into hiding for many years before resurfacing and rejoining Dom's crew in F9. The real meaning of Fast and Furious 6. While the Fast and Furious franchise has been memed for its comically high use of word family, it does play an important thematic role in these movies, especially Fast and Furious 6. The film is about family because not only are Dom and his crew like a family who support and care for each other throughout the mission, but characters like Letty are reminded of just how powerful and concept of family can be even despite suffering from amnesia, which is why she ultimately rejoined the crew. Overall, family is a driving force both plot-wise and thematically, and the result is a very entertaining action movie. So you have just finished watching Fast and Furious 6. You have seen planes and tanks and flip cars and Paul Walker's alternate universe car clone and one of the greatest headbutts in the history of human heads. You think it's all over? They credit roll and then they stop rolling. You see a Mercedes driving through the streets of Tokyo. If you are a fan of the franchise, you immediately recognize the significance of the Tokyo setting, and you can guess that we are watching a sequence set during the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. If you are a deep fan of the franchise, you recognize the crucial importance of what we are about to see. This is the scene where Han dies. Han has been alive in the last few movies, constantly threatening a move to Tokyo. Now he's finally done it. But there's a twist here. In Tokyo Drift, Han was racing away from the Drift King when he was hit, apparently by accident, by a Mercedes. This time we see who was driving that Mercedes, and we learn that it was not an accident at all. The man who killed Han closes out Fast and Furious 6 by making a phone call to Dominic Toretto. "You don't know me yet," he says, "but you will." Perhaps you recognize him. He looks a little bit like this. Yes, the rumors were true, and the rumors were awesome. Jason Statham, star of the Transporter trilogy, star of the Crack Dude, genuine accredited British person, is joining the Fast franchise. Details are scarce about the precise nature of his role in the next installment. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to guess that Statham is playing the brother of the now dead Owen Shaw. Shaw notably mentioned a brother in an earlier scene in Fast 6. The internet has generally agreed to call him Owen Shaw, although clearly Benedict Cumberbatch would be more appropriate. The implications for the future of the franchise are huge. Fast is quickly becoming the nexus of all modern action movies between Tyrese Gibson and Jason Statham. It has colonized the other two contemporary car franchises, Transformers and Transporter, while also creating an indelible link to Statham's other gang of heroes franchise, The Expendables. The conclusion of Fast and Furious 6 provides a graceful exit for director Justin Lin, who joined the franchise with Tokyo Drift. When asked about the ending by E.W., Lin said, "I was very happy with the whole Jason Statham of it all. It feels good to be able to hand off on a positive note with Statham joining the cast. The whole Jason Statham of it all would be a great name for a Statham biography. Likewise, When we asked Dan Jensen about the possibility of Luke Hobbs facing off against the transporter, he said simply, "The idea of seeing him and myself on screen going at it a very intriguing and very interesting. Two styles that would collide extraordinarily well." Then he added, "Less simply, my personal message to that person is picture a lump because it will be all the day affair." Presumably Fast 7 will be at least partially a vengeance movie as the remaining member of the Toretto gang came out of retirement to avenge the fallen Han. Presumably Fast 7 will be at least partially a vengeance movie as the remaining member of the Toretto gang came out of retirement to avenge the fallen Han. Unless maybe Brother Shaw will be hunting them down, forcing the Toretto tribe to go on the run. Will Statham's character have this own series of car driving bidas? Does this mean that there is going to be a climactic fight scene where Statham and Diesel and Johnson have a shirtless, shaved head oiled up beast doll, additionally on a sinking oil tanker that is exporting? Follow Fast franchise. What did you think of the ending? Where does the Statham reveal rank in the history of post-credit sequel teases? What other contemporary action stars would you like to see in the franchise? Mila Jovovich as the mysterious Eastern European spy and a crazy car, Tony Jaa as a mysterious Thai emerald with a crazy car, Sean Bean as the Shaw's brother evil uncle, Bon Shaw. Fast and Furious 6 ending after credit spoiler. So the Fast and the Furious movie, the Fast and the Furious 6, we were at the drive-in and there were some people suffering about, so I missed part of the credit scene with the Jason Statham incident event. I see the true inciting event in the story as being the moment when Hobbs approaches Dom with the new job and tells him that his girlfriend Letty is still alive. However, the timing is a little early here time-wise. The moment when the team assembles and Dom tells Brian about Letty is the turning point in the first act. However, when you have a story about and many primary characters as this one does, there are often a quite as few mini inciting events as the conflict bumps into one character after another. First plot point. The team engaged the master villain Shaw of the first time but ends up losing him. Dom finds Letty only to have her shot him the angles with Shaw, although obviously the first plot point is not a great example in itself of the character leaving their first act normal world. But Dom's getting shocked offhand by the women he loves is a great moment that decidedly backs up the action and forces the character into uncharted territory. First pinch point. Several of Dom's team members engage Letty and Sean's men. Dom's team is beaten soundly and Letty escapes. This does a nice job of emphasizing both the physical and personal stakes. The plot turns thanks to the new information picked up during these scenes, indicating Shaw works with Dom's old drug-running enemy Braga. Midpoint. In many ways, the scenes in which Brian infiltrates the American prison to talk to Braga and in which Braga tells him Letty has amnesia is set up to be the midpoint revelation. As such, it's a poor one since the information is new to Brian but not to the audience. The following set-piece scene in which Dom and Letty set dresses is much better. It doesn't offer much new information either, but at least it moves the plot by showing the effect of Letty's amnesia on both her and Dom. Second pinch point. Shaw fools Dom and co by going after the military convoy that is moving the computer piece he needs. Instead of hitting the base as they accepted from here on out, it's action all the way, which definitely sets up the third plot point. Third plot point. After being captured, false sense of victory from the protagonist, Shaw negotiates his own release by revealing he has kidnapped Mia, Dom's sister and Brian's wife. This naturally forces the character into a place where the personal stakes are sky high. Climax. The pacing is very tight between the third plot point and the turning point into the climax. Almost immediately, the character rushes to infiltrate the plane on which Shaw is escaping with Mia. climatic moment. The plane crashes and Shaw dies, and Dom mercilessly walks away with the computer piece Shaw wanted. Resolution: Hobbs secures pardon for everyone so that they can go home. Dom's interim girlfriend Elena walks away so he can start over with Letty. And this was the ending of the movie The Fast and Furious 6. Now let's explain the post-credit scene of the movie. Just when I thought that things cannot go even better for Fast and Furious 6 in particular and for the entire franchise overall, there came the awesome closure scene after the credits. Ever since the fourth installment in the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast and Furious 4, aka Fast and Furious 2009, and even in the Fast and Furious 5, aka Fast 5, like most people, I was wondering about the loophole that was created for Han's character. How was it possible keeping him alive for so many movies after he was killed off in a very gigantic and anticlimactic way in the Fast and the Furious 3? Tokyo Drift 2006. What will happen to this character in the future, past, next? There was a time I even thought that because the Fast and Furious franchise going so well, its creator will ignore the events from Tokyo Drift just to keep making the franchise. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Deep inside, it was very curious on when will it hammer fall on Han to close the arc loophole circle that was reopened in movies 4-6. When I saw the scene after the credit in Fast and Furious 6, I almost pissed my pants like a little girl. This scene was perfect. It's hard to believe that it could be done better than it was. I am really surprised and positively amazed from movies likely, but that scene was one of the most awesome closure I had seen in the last few years. I feel like many scenes from Fast and Furious 6 movie were building up for the post-credit scene. I guess that is why it worked so well. The director and writer managed to take that genetic accident from Tokyo Drift and make it so powerful in the 6th installment by closing the loophole villain entry of a major villain to the Fast and Furious 7 movie. If you didn't see Fast and Furious 6 yet, you should stop reading and stop watching this and see the movie. You can buy Fast and Furious 6 DVD at any shop. After seeing the scene itself, it's a lot clearer now why Gasly had to die in the Fast and Furious 6. Initially, you should think that was released from her Fast and Furious contract because she is not a very good actress, but after the post-credit scene, you understand that she was the trigger for Han's move to Tokyo, and without Han, there is not much that you can do with her character in the next move. If you saw the film already, I bet you are excited as much as I am. Jason Statham is perfect for this role. He appeared in several car chase films and he did a great job in all of them. It is going to be fascinating seeing him interact with Diesel, Walker and The Rock. Seeing Statham in the last scene itself was a major surprise. I didn't see it coming, and when I saw Han dying after Owen Shaw hammered him with the Mercedes, the entire Tokyo Drift movie turned from genetically decayed even to one of the surprisingly awesome ending we saw in the last few years. In addition, it reconnected Tokyo Drift to Fast and Furious franchise because prior to the Furious 6 post-credit scene, Tokyo Drift felt like a standalone film that had partially nothing to do with the Fast and Furious franchise. Fast and Furious box set DVD. Fast and Furious The Complete Collection. Fast and Furious 2 Fast 2 Furious. The Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Fast and Furious 5 and The Fast and the Furious 6. Why do Hobbs and Toretto stand side by side during the final scene? In the final scene of the Furious 6, aka The Fast and the Furious 6, Hobbs, Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Toretto Vin Diesel enjoy a private moment where they awkwardly say thank you and express some mutual respect. The blocking where they are standing in this scene seems quite intentional but very weird. The two muscle bond stars don't face each other, they stand alongside each other but facing in opposite direction. This gives the scene a super awkward feeling plus create a wide optical illusion in certain shots where the Hobbs look tiny or badly greened in. Fast and Furious 6 Revisited, it is the most underrated movie in the Fast saga. The Fast and Furious franchise becomes a globe-trotting adventure with the sixth film, which features some of the biggest action sequences yet, brings a character back from the dead with a volatile right out of the soap opera, wraps up a timeline issue and became an even bigger hit than the very popular Fast 5. Our franchise Retropist has reached Furious 6 now and it's time for this one to be revisited. After directing 3 Fast and Furious movies in a row, Justin Lin was not sure if he'd come back for the 6th film, but he knew what he wanted to see in a future sequel, whether the director it or not. While working on the 4th movie, he had an idea for an extended action sequence involving an airplane on a runway. A sequence that would end with the side of a car driven by Vin Diesel's character Dominic Toretto bursting through the nose of the plane. Lin was so excited by this idea, he even hired digital pre-visualization artists to put together a version of it. The problem was it would be extremely expensive to film, and it didn't fit into the story of the 4th movie. It didn't fit into Fast 5 either, but Lin knew it would make it into a sequel someday. And if it ended up being directed by someone else, they'd still have this previous mock-up to match to figure out how to execute it. But as it turns out, Lin was given the chance to bring that sequence to life. Given the choice between directing Furious 6, a Terminator sequel, or the Highlander remake, he chose to go on another ride with Dom and his crew. Now that's dedication to family. Furious 6 was announced just 2 months after Fast 5 was released, and by the time of that announcement, Lin was already signed on. Soon after, he told boxoffice.com about the plane sequence. Without mentioning that involved a plane, he said, "I already have a 12-minute sequence done. I did it just an exercise. I had it done before we were finished with Fast 5 actually. I really wanted to make sure that the last scene, which I had talked to Vin about countless times, I wanted to make sure that has done. So actually I storyboarded it, I pre-vised it and I cut it. So it's funny, when we were in Atlanta shooting 5, I already had the end sequence to 6 done. And that was what I wanted to work towards." Chris Morgan, who wrote the 3 previous installments, was writing this one as well. And the ensemble cast was in peace. That means Diesel, who would also be producing with Neil H. Mortis, was returning to play heroic but criminal street racer Dom. Paul Walker would be back as lawman turning outlaw Bran O'Connor. Jordana Brewster returns as Dom's sister and Brian's wife Mia, but he's given less to do because her character gives birth at the beginning of the movie. Their fast-driving pals Roman Tage, Han and Gasly, played by Tyrese Gibson, Chris Ludacris, Bridges, Song Kang and Gail Gadot were back as well. Fast 5 new addition Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, reprises the role of diplomatic security service agent Luke Hobbs, and Elsa Pataki is back as Dom's love interest, former police officer Elena. But their romance quickly comes to an end when Dom finds out his girlfriend Letty, played by Michelle Rodriguez, is still alive. Viewers and the character were led to believe that she died in the 4th movie, but she is still out there, still pulling off high-speed crimes. She just doesn't remember her life with Dom's because the crash we thought killed her has left her with amnesia. Clearly, Morgan is a fan of the daytime soap operas. By this time, the franchise has deal with thieves, drug dealers, and criminal kingpins. But part of the goal with Fast 5 has to shake things up and start expanding the scope. These were not just street racing movies anymore. They could be heist movies, this could be globe trotting adventures, and with Furious 6, Our street racers find themselves in the middle of the story that could have just as easily served as the setup for the James Bond or Mission Impossible movie. A former soldier named Owen Shaw has decided to follow his military career with a life of crime. He has gathered together a team of skilled mercenaries and highly coordinated drivers, including Letty. They use their vehicles to carry off insane heists that have the authorities baffled, attacking the likes of military convoy in the quest to gather components that can be assembled into a nightshade device. A tech bomb that can block an entire communication grid for 24 hours. Stopping them could be a job for a super spy to handle. Instead, it's Luke Hobbs who has been chasing Shaw across 4 continents and through 12 countries, including Russia. Now he has received information that indicates Shaw and his crew are in London, and he knows that he needs a team of skilled drivers to catch this group of valorous villains. So he turns to the best drivers he knows, Dom, Brian, and their friends. If they help catch Shaw, their past criminal actions will be pardoned, and in the process they'll be able to reunite Dom and Letty, so they agree to take on this dangerous mission. Luke Evans was cast as Owen Shaw, Clara Paget, Kim Cole, Geo Teslim, David Jalla, Seymour Stewart, Thos Lingard, Benjamin Davis, and Matthew Sterling play his many associates. Don't expect any of them to make much of an impact, but some of them do have fun moments in action sequence. Another new addition to the cast was former MMA fighter and American gladiator Gina Carano, who was cast as a DSS agent who works with Hobbs. The idea of making 2 Fast and Furious sequels back to back has come up several times as the franchise has gone on, especially when they start talking about wrapping it up. As they already were at this point, there was a moment when Universal has considered having Lin pick Part 6 and 7 back to back, and he was glad to have the opportunity to close out the franchise in the right way. The Fast movie would be called The Fast, and the climactic sequence would involve Shaw's crew taking control of the tank. The story would conclude in a follow-up called The Furious, which would end with the plane runaway sequence Lin had envisioned. Diesel explained to the Hollywood Reporter, with the success of this last one and the inclusion of so many characters and the broadening of scope, when we were sitting down to figure out what would fit into the real estate of number 6, we didn't have enough space. We have to pay off this story, we have to service all of these character relationships, and when we started mapping all that out, it just went beyond 110. The studio said you cannot fit all the story in one damn movie. But then it was decided to condense the story into one damn movie after all. So Shaw's crew does gain control of the tank of one sequence, but that's not the end. It's followed by the plane runaway sequence, which does end the movie. Most of Furious 6 take place in and around London, with the action jumping over to Spain late in the running time. The original plan was have that tank tankering right through Piccadilly Circus, but Piccadilly Circus turned out to be incredibly difficult to film in. There is a scene where Tom and Letty go through the area, and the production was only allowed to stop traffic for 7 minutes at a time to shoot that. The filmmakers planned to film the tank action at a replica of Piccadilly Circus that they built elsewhere, which would require choosing digital technology to put the surrounding building in the background. But then they find out they could get access to the unopened highway in the Connery Island, so they decided to use that highway for the tank sequence instead. The production also discovered that it was impossible to shoot down other sections of London for a chase sequence. So part of the chase were filmed in Liverpool, 200 miles away from London, and parts were filmed in Glasgow, Scotland, 400 miles away, but plenty of shooting was done in the actual city. The start of the street race scenes were filmed right down the road from the Prime Minister's office. Singer Rita Ora was added into the sequence later because Weasel had met her and felt that she embodied London. Finding stand-ins for London was not the only challenge Lin faced on this one. He was racing against time struggling to keep the movie on schedule. And it seems like the study was especially flippant when it came to cutting moment involving the Han and Giesel characters. But Lin had a special fondness for Han since he was basically introduced in an 80 movie Lin had made called Better Luck Tomorrow. So he had sure to get the moments he needed with those characters, even if it is mid shooting with Song Kong and Gold added off schedule. He did have to drop a motorcycle chase that would have involved ghastly thought. Another complication across when Paul Walker suffered an ACL injury during filmmaking. They had to shoot around any moments of planned action while waiting for him to heal. The race against time continued in post-production, which Lin was given just 12 weeks to complete. It took a large team that included 5 editors, but he got it done. Furious 6 didn't turn out quite as well as the game-changing Fast 5 did, but it's a serviceable attempt at giving the audience more of what they liked about the previous films. Owen Shaw is not a particularly interesting villain, and this plans to put together a nightshade device doesn't mean much. This is something Lin was very aware of during filming, but adventure films thrive on what are called mefkans, something that keeps the story moving and motivates the characters. The villains want to get their hands on it, the heroes want to stop them from using it, but the object itself doesn't really matter. The Nightshade device is such an irrelevant MacGuffin. Lin made sure the name is only mentioned once in the film. All we need to know is that Shaw is a bad guy and he wants to do something bad, which Dom and his cohorts cannot let happen. The important part of the story is the personal side of it. Shaw found Letty when he was in vulnerable position in a hospital suffering from dementia. Now he has her on his team and Dom needs to get her back. The Letty story is completely ridiculous, but it gives the viewer something to care about in the midst of all the action, where we get to see the destruction of a couple hundred vehicles. And the action is what makes the movie worth watching. We get multiple short cases, races, and fight scenes. The sequence that involves a tank crushing cars on the highway is a standout, but so is a chase through London where Shaw drives something referred to as the flip car, a Formula 1 racing car that has been modified with a ramp on the front, so it can drive straight into other vehicles and send them flipping through the air. Joe Taslim gets to show off his martial arts skill in a fun fight, where not even the combined forces of Han and Roman can take them down, and Reddy and Letty take each other on in a brawl that took 3 days to film. Towards the end, we get to see Tom and Hobbs team up in a fight against Shaw and character played by hawking bodybuilder Kim Kont, and it all builds up to that plane runaway sequence that Lin was so enthusiastic about. It takes place completely outside of reality. So much happens during the sequence, the runaway would have to be longer than any runaway in the world. Estimate range from 18 to 29 miles. The longest runaway existence is just under 3.5 miles, but it's fun to watch. That's not the only indication in Furious 6 that the franchise is losing touch with any sense of reality. There's also a moment like Hobbs jumping onto Shaw's flip car from an overpass, Dom getting shot in the chest and being able to shrug it off, and most observable, Dom crashing a car to launch himself through the air so he can have a conclusion with Letty, who was being launched into the air by a crash of her own. Their flight comes to an end with them smashing down onto the windshield of another vehicle, apparently falls from great heights or being thrown through the air at great speed will not result in injury, just as long as you have a car to cushion your landing. There are some nice characters moments in there. The emotional descent just came from the soap opera story involving Dom, Letty, and Elena. Lin also made sure to include moments that deal with Han and Gasly's relationship, which is building up to tragedy. The events of the 4th, 5th, and 6th films all take place before the 3rd movie, Tokyo Drift, which is where Han first entered the picture, hanging out in Tokyo by himself. At the end of Furious 6, we catch up to Tokyo Drift and we find out why Gasly has not with Han anymore at that time. It's heartbreaking. But there are also some entertaining moments of humor, with one of the best examples being an interaction Tage and Hobbs have with a snotty actioneer. The story of Furious 6 has plenty of issues that can be picked apart, and it seems like Lin and Morgan were not quite sure what to do and Brian this time around. Trying to find out how Letty got involved with Shaw leads back to the villain of the 4th movie, Braga, played by John Ortiz. To get the whole story, Brian contacts his former FBI associate, Stasias, played by Shia Begum, and gets himself sent to prison so that he can question Braga. This seems like an unnecessary waste of time in a movie that's overlong at 131 minutes. The Letty information could have been delivered in a better, quicker way, but it allows Brian to contribute something to the story. The title on screen is Furious 6, but an online poll indication the movie gears prefer the title Fast and Furious 6, so that's what was used as marketing material. Universal gave the film a memorable day weekend release in May of 2013 and was rewarded with the highest opening in the franchise yet. The film made 117 million in the United States over those 4 days on its way to domestic total of $239 million. The international numbers were also massive, ending up just under $551 million, made on a budget of $160 million, with another $100 million going towards marketing. Furious 6 made almost $790 million at the global box office, while Fast 5 is still the most well-regarded for the sequel. Furious 6 bested its box office by almost $160 million. When the time came for the film to reach Blu-ray, Universal released both a theatrical cut and an extended cut that's about 54 seconds longer. For the most part, the extended cut just puts back in moments for violence that had to be trimmed to achieve a PG-13 rating. More punches, kicks, and headbutts. Furious 6 was so successful, Universal wanted another sequel as quickly as possible, and the filmmaker had built the setup for the next sequel into this one. There's a mid-credit scene that takes place during the chase scene where Han was killed in Tokyo Drift. This revealed the car that crashed into Han was not driven by a random Tokyo citizen. Instead, it was being driven by Owen Shaw's brother Deckard Shaw, played in a quick cameo by Jason Statham. Deckard obviously has incredible intuition and timing. He was able to crash into Han in the right place at the right time during that chase scene. He internationally killed Han to avenge his brother, and he is going after Dominic Toretto next. The studio put the sequel on the fast track to begin filming in summer of 2013 so it could be released in the summer of 2014. If Lin came back to track, that would mean he would have to begin pre-production on Part 7 while still in post-production on 6. He felt the quality of 7 would suffer if he were to do that, so he decided to step away from the franchise, ending his 4-film streak of Fast and Furious movies. In their search for a new director, Universal turned to someone who was best known for working in the horror genre. James Wan took the helm of story about Jason Statham tracking down our street racing heroes, but the film ended up being delayed a year when tragedy struck in the middle of production, and we will be talking about that in the next episode of Revisited. Back in 2001, The Fast and the Furious put Vin Diesel and Paul Walker on the map like never before. With this street racing action flick, director Rob Cohen likely didn't know that he was about to launch one of the biggest film franchises of the 21st century. More than that, there's no way that Walker or Diesel had any clue themselves. and yet with 9 sequels, a spin-off and a children's animated series, the Fast and Furious franchise has grown well beyond expectation. But did you know that the original film could have ended a bit differently? Had Cohen and company stuck with this alternate ending, it may have changed the franchise drastically moving forward. In the deleted ending of the Fast and the Furious title Moving Out, Brian O'Connor is let go by the Los Angeles Police Department, who for some reason opt not to press charges against their turncoat officer, but instead of going home and figuring out his next move. Brian is shuttled to the Toretto's house where he finds Mia packing things up in the garage. Though he cannot help but ask if she knows where Dom is, the subject quickly changes to their relationship. Because of Brian's betrayal, any genuine feeling Mia felt for the guy are muddled, and she is unsure if she can trust him again. Of course, Brian fights for her anyway, and the scenes end with a hopeful finish that alludes to a future reconciliation. After everything they had been through and Brian's willingness to help Dom despite his duties as a cop, it makes sense that Mia would consider taking him back even after such a big lie. Also, Brian offers to help her with packing up the place, but then stands idly by as the camera pans over to the Los Angeles skyline, which is both strange and amusing. Where the two of them would have gone after this is uncertain. But this ending would have no doubt made Too Fast, Too Furious a different movie entirely, so maybe that would have been a good thing. As the Fast and Furious stands, the original film actually ends with Brian handing Dom the keys to this Supra after nearly deciding to arrest him. The pair come to a mutual understanding and the street racer gets away without another word. A post-credit scene reveals that Dom got away, having fled to Mexico, but we don't hear from Brian again this time around. In fact, Mia is not seen again until the fourth movie, Fast and Furious, which is also the next picture in the series to reunite Brian and Dom, who both appear independently during the third and fourth movie. Brian and Mia being together could have shifted the franchise. Ending the Fast and Furious with Brian and Mia together could have likely shifted the franchise in an entirely new direction. The starter Too Fast and Too Furious take Brian to Miami, where he makes his living as a street racer before being considered by the FBI to take down a drug lord named Carter Veron, played by Yellowstone's very own Clue Hofstra. The sequel, the only and not to feature Vin Diesel in any capacity, ended up introducing a recurring character to the franchise, and while it's certainly the biggest link in the series, it has proved important in the meantime. But have the LAPD just let Brian go, none of it would have just happened. Fast and Furious 6, alternatively known as Furious 6 or Fast 6, in a 2013 American action film directed by Justin Lin and written by Chris Morgan. It is the sixth installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. Fast and Furious 6 follows a professional criminal gang led by Dominic Toretto, who are offered amnesty for their crimes by US Diplomatic Society Service DSS agent Luke Hobbs in exchange for helping him take down a skilled mercenary organization led by Owen Shaw, one member of which is Toretto's former lover Letty Ortiz. After departing from the street racing theme of previous films in Fast 5 to great commercial and critical success, developer approached Fast and Furious 6 with the aim to transform the franchise further, incorporating elements of spy and adventure film in the hopes of increasing audience numbers further. Pre-production began in April 2011 and principal photography began in London, England in July 2012 and featured several international filming locations including the Conroy Island, Glasgow and Los Angeles. Fast and Furious 6 first opened in the United Kingdom on May 17, 2013 and was released internationally on May 24, 2013. It achieved financial success, setting box office record as the second highest grossing film released in 2013, the second highest grossing film in the Universal Studio history, and it surpasses Fast 5 to become the highest grossing film in the franchise. Fast and Furious 6 grossed over $788 million worldwide, ranking it number 63 on the all-time worldwide list of highest grossing films. Fast and Furious 6 receives mostly positive reviews, with critics highlighting the likable cast, action sequence, instruction, and the film's ability to immerse the audience in the high-speed chases and conflict between the two opposing gangs. However, many were critical for the film dialogue and the scene's character precision. A sequel, Furious 7, released in April 2015, eventually surpasses Fast and Furious 6 as the franchise's highest grossing film, earning over $1.5 billion worldwide. Fast and Furious 6, Fast 5 Pirates of the Caribbean, Edwards and the Day of Age Tomorrow, Furious 6 The Last Word. The Hangover Part 3 has somehow improved gang from nearly making it and the final 8 film in the deadline's most valuable blockbuster movie tournament face off today. This is the third of our 4 quarter-final matchup, and for the first time we reveal the number behind the numbers that show just how profitable a movie really is. This amounts to an external censorship within Universal Pictures between the studio's most dependable franchise and its next one. Kangaroo and a bunch of adorable minions in Despicable Me 4 outmuscle the muscle car and the cast of the Fast and Furious 6, including Vin Diesel, Giant Jason, Paul Walker, Jason Statham, and Teresi. Luckily for the minions, they doesn't involve bunch of depressing game on. The box office score. Here is how the two films project and revenue and cost. The bottom line. Fast 6 got there by besting another animated film in the 11th series, The Crocs. Despicable Me 2 cruised past 14, The Shrek Into Darkness. While Despicable Me 2 showed significant improvement over its best film, Fast 6 has steadily built its gross to the point where its sixth film was the highest grosser both domestically and overseas. But here is where the Minions deliver a heat down. Fast 6 $788 million in global box office came at a high price. The net production cost was $260 million per our experts and a drag on another $105 million for global P&A and $34 million in talent participations. Contrast to the Despicable Me 2 $970 million in global box office on a $76 million budget and over with $144 million in global P&A cost. And it is not hard to see why Comcast CEO Steve Barca has called Despicable Me 2 the most profitable Universal film of all time. It also in the third highest grossing Universal film of all time on the domestic front. E.T. and Jurassic Park beat it, and second biggest global grosser behind Jurassic Park, with enjoyed a 3-day release. Fast and Furious 6 total gross revenue were $678 million, but its high budget and participation left its profit at $135.1 million to Universal, earning a total cash on cash return of $1.25. Despicable Me 2 $868 million total gross revenue amount to a $394.5 million profit margin for Universal and a total cash on cash return for $1.83 million. Famous stunt plate. For Owen Shaw's flip car, Lin tasked the film's vehicle designer with development a car capable of driving headfirst into moving vehicle and flipping them into the air. McCarthy and his team designed a fully functioning, low-to-the-ground Formula racing car with a ramp on its front that allowed it to catapult other cars into the air while keeping the flip car driver safe. For Rodriguez and Kronos fights in the London's underground, producers refused to let the part attempts to stunt where their characters battle over a stair rail and fell down a stairwell. Fearing a serious injury would derail filming, stunt women performed the particle stunt. Morgan skipped radiation for the fight was described as a catfight on steroids, but Rodriguez provided input to turn it into more of a street fight. Rodriguez said originally in the script it was a lot more Terminator SQ2 far-fetched to be believed. Things just happened too quick and then I am on top. Justin Lin had height bust out bestie to get it more realistic. I was like, this woman needs to kick my ass. Rodriguez and Carano reshot their fight choreography over 2 months with trained fighter Carano undergoing extra practice to ensure her strikes looked graphical without hitting hard enough to harm Rodriguez. Under the direction of fight choreographer Olivier Schneider, the fight was designed to be brutal but realistic, representing Carano's cop with fight training and Rodriguez street fighting. The parkade explosion shock launchers Tom's team intro combined on set pillars that could be detonated alongside dust mines, which could be used as a reference for the digital artist to create the appearances of the structuring sinking into itself. A scene involving Evan's character commandeering a tank was originally intended to use CGI to portray the vehicle crushing cars along a Spanish highway, but the final scenes used practical effect as the tank really ran over approximately 250 cars during filming. The scene was shot over a 3-mile stretch of highway in Tenerife line with holiday resorts that had to be digitally moved to create a desolate appearances. The segment panel that sees Roman leap to a nearby car and the tag flip was created digitally. The scene featuring Diesel smashing this car through the nose of a Soviet-era cargo aircraft during takeoff was convinced by Lin while producing Fast and Furious in 2009. At the time, the stunts was too expensive to film and did not fit into the film story. But Lin commissioned digital pre-visualization artists to develop a mocha for the area. He attempted to revive the concept for Fast 5, but the technology available proved insufficient and it still did not organically fit into the story. Filming the climatic scene particularly was considered unfeasible as it involved throwing tanks through the air and having cars alongside the moving airplane at 100 miles per hour. Lin opted to build various plane sets instead. A 30-foot high, 24-foot long, 50-foot wide replica of the fuselage complete with wheels, the tail of the plane with a ramp allowing the cars to drive in and out, and a full-scale build of the central fuselage with wings, engine and the nose that could be set on fire.